Hi, everybody. Dr. Annette here. I just wanted to just kind of go over a little bit of information about how to self-publish. I have been d- self-publishing for a long time. Before it was really popular, I self-published one of my first books on writing and how to be a better student, like way back in the 90s. And I did my first health book coming out of my first bout with breast cancer in the early 2000s. And I can see the progress that the industry has made, and I can see the progress in my own writing and what self-publishing looks like. So just how to self-publish and what that's looking like. So I want to just kind of go over a few things and what your options are in self-publishing. So kind of what that it looks like. So let's kind of move on here. So publishing models. So we have what's the traditional publishing, the hybrid publishing, and self-publishing. So with the traditional publishing model, you've heard about having your book published with a traditional publisher. You need a literary agent. You have this beautiful manuscript that you've worked on that's finished. And this is usually back before 2000, I would say. This is what you'd have a traditional publishing house, and you'd have to have a literary agent. And back in those days, somebody would have their manuscript. You'd have been working on this, and you'd have to find yourself an agent who would bring your manuscript to a publishing house, a publisher. And you know what? What would be a good representation of that? Have you ever watched Murder, She Wrote? That would be a great representation of what that looks like, having someone get your book manuscript in front of a literary agent and then getting it in front of a publisher and then having it going through the editorial process, and then someone within that publishing house is actually creating a cover for you. They're laying it out, they're doing all of that work, and the publishing house is taking on the financial responsibility, the burden of that, and also doing some of the marketing. Well, a lot of that has changed. And so you in the 21st century, real authors, I'm a real author. Anyone you've published your book, you've written your book, you are a real author. Um, you don't have to go that route, and it's not easy going that route because traditional publishers do not often have the time to take your manuscript and hone it and go through that writing process and kind of massage it and tweak it and do all the things that used to happen. It's very competitive now. So not only with the literary agent, your manuscript better be edited, it better be clean, because you're not only fighting for the attention of that literary agent with all those manuscripts, that agent also has to go through those manuscripts to get it in front of the publishing house. So now you have number two, the hybrid publishing, which is a lot of the traditional publishers, whether maybe you're paying attention, if you're focused in with that, have a publishing arm that is a hybrid publisher where you as the author are paying a fee for someone to assist you with parts of the publishing process, whether it's the editing piece, whether it's maybe a marketing piece, maybe it's something that you don't want to do as the author that particular aspect of the work is being done for you, and you as the author are paying for that. So, in a sense, you are paying for a part of the process to have your book published. And with that hybrid publishing, you've probably seen those commercials with the Christian publishers, and they'll send you the free guidebook. But within that guidebook, after you get that, they're going to send you emails and say, we can offer you this package, and we can offer you this package, and we can offer you this package for a set price based on what your needs are. What do you want them to do? So there are a lot of hybrid publishers out there. So just be careful and pay attention and definitely know what you need. And now many authors decide to do everything themselves and go for all this self-publishing. And there's a lot of information out on the web. You can YouTube a lot of information. After I finish this, I'm going to post this on YouTube and make it available for folks to see. You can publish your book and walk through the steps yourself. And you're an independent author. So you publish your book, you're an independent publisher. I'm an independent scholar. So I have publications through academic presses, but an academic press is different than your trade publications that you'll find at Barnes and Noble. So that's a different video. So that's a different type of publisher. So anyway, so you can maintain creative control with your self-publishing. That means you're in control of how your book is laid out in the interior. You're in control of your cover. You're in control of your marketing, your distribution, all of it. With a traditional publisher, they're in control of that. So if there's something about your book they don't like, uh, they can change that. So you want to make sure you are understanding what is happening with your book, no matter what traditional, hybrid, and self-publishing. You need to know what you want to consider. So even with self-publishing, we'll get into it. You can be inside Barnes and Noble, but it just depends on what distribution method and how you market your book. All of it's important. So when we think about self-publishing, there are gatekeepers and control. Gatekeepers, gatekeepers, gatekeepers. So major traditional publishers, Random House, just to name one of them, but there are lots of them, do not typically accept unsolicited manuscripts. So I know someone mentioned to me not recently, well, what about I can just send my manuscript off. You can send your manuscript off, but it's just going to be in a pile. And maybe one day somebody will get to it to send you a letter that says no, thank you. But those publishing houses go with agents. And so you have to be introduced to an agent, and that's a whole process in and of itself, working to get yourself a literary agent. So those are two entities that you have to impress with your manuscript before you can even achieve and get to the part about publication with your traditional publisher. So agents get lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of manuscripts sent to them every single day. And that's why it takes them a long time to get back to authors. So competition is high and it's tough. So not saying it can't be done. It can be done, but just know it's tough. So tenacity. And so your work has to be ready. There's not a lot of time for agents to sift through the potential. Oh, we see the potential. We can work with you. They want the work to already be done. So they don't have time to develop your writing. They don't have time for that. Your writing needs to already be developed. They don't have time to guide you through the revision process. you need to have worked through the revision process. So they need to be ready to pitch your work to the traditional publisher if that's what you're looking for. So, and if they're looking for something specific and what's trending, what's selling, that's what they're looking for. So when we talk about gatekeepers and that sort of thing, that's the kind of gate I'm talking about. So with the self-publishing, you have the ability, if you have a message, you have something that you want to say, you have a story that you want to tell, you write it, you get it edited, you have creative control, you can tell it. And so the author platform is not necessarily, if it isn't large enough, that's also a consideration with traditional publishers. So I know sometimes you'll see a lot of influencers that have books with major publishers. That's because they're major influencers they have large audiences. So that was a big deal for traditional publishers to give them that book contract to push that word out. So that was extremely important. So remember, as a publisher, a traditional publisher is going to have more control over the books and the suggested edits, but you as a self-publisher, you control your narrative, your story, the design, the cover design, the interior design, that's all you. That's all for you. And when it comes to earnings, the average author royalty for a traditional publisher, because remember, you might have gotten an advance, but that's an advance. That's some money that you pay back out of book sales. And so if you never meet that earning back, you don't make any money, or maybe you make $1 or however it works. But remember that money is an advance based on book sales. So, are you going to self-publish? Think about it. So you might be able to make more money. Depends on your marketing, the message of your book, and what you put into it to push your message out there. So distribution. Hmm. There is a stigma to self-published books, but that comes from just a long, just the old history of what self-published books used to be and what independent books used to be when they were competing against the traditional books and the book publishers back before technology made information much more available and self-publishers much more available, and the ability to compete right alongside the traditional book publishers and books. And so indie publishing stigma has gone way down. The quality of what is out there has gone way up. The book distribution provided by Ingram Spark, and that is the same place, the same company that if you want to have your books on the bookshelves at Barnes and Noble or at your local bookstore. So that's where I'm working to have my next my book opening, book showing at a local bookstore here and at Barnes and Noble. So my book has to go through Ingram Spark. It cannot just be on Amazon. As much as Amazon has been taking over, that is not the only place that you need to have your book. It needs to be on Ingram Spark if you truly want that international and national distribution and showcasing from your book. So for Barnes and Noble and your local independent bookstores, It needs to be there if you want libraries to have your book and other major online retailers. It needs to be Ingram Spark. And Ingram Spark also has a lot of other great self-publishing classes that you can take because they really are very supportive of their independent authors and independent publishers. And I will add if you go on YouTube, you'll find other independent authors who've made videos on how to get the correct file types and sizes and things like that. Because Amazon has a different file type and file size for uploading files, and Ingram Spark has theirs. Lulu.com. I like Lulu because I love the print quality of their books. So when I'm ordering books for in-person events where I'm going to sign my books and have them available for um, my customers, I like to order my books from Lulu because they cost a little more for the author copies, but it's worth it. And that comes to Indie Pride, independent author pride. So, and as an independent publisher, because not only am I an independent author, I now, and I'll talk about it a little bit more later on, but Sister Circle Writers Press. So I'm just moving into publishing my books and books for others. So when I think about that, so championing my own work and the work of others, supporting other stories of other women, because not everybody wants to be a book publisher. They just want to publish their own stuff and be done with it. So get your foot in the door. So self-publishing is a good way to get your foot in the door of traditional publishers. It still happens. It's not an either or decision. It can still happen. And so for many authors, getting traditionally published is their dream. And like many dreams, self-publishing can be a path to that dream. So don't put it aside. It can still happen, but don't cast self-publishing aside. It's um it's a good way to go. It is a definitely a good way to go. So make your connections, hone your craft. I still read about writing because I've been writing for my whole life. I was writing before I went to kindergarten. I was reading before I went to kindergarten. So I still read, I still write, I still read about writing. I still do that thing. I still learn about writing, and I love editing. I love reading other people's work. I love to help others find their voice and what they want to say and kind of so I hone my craft. So you hone your craft and wherever you are. Let's see. The next thing I want to talk about are the traits and essentials of successful self-publishing. So just being prepared, never stop learning. There's always, and technology changes things. Policies change, so you just want to always stay out there and be learning. And I think we're in a good community, a good space because people um, share information as much as people are in business to earn a living and earn an income. People also share information. So don't be afraid to you just go out there and get that free information because it's valuable. There's a lot of information out there that's valuable. And there was a business, I call it community service information, and I think it's great. It's great information. We do it because we love to share. So that's what we're doing. So be prepared, always be prepared to learn and never stop learning. This is Yeah, I got excited there for a minute because I always do this. Go to the local bookstore and see what the new books are on the shelves. Look at prices. Check out the books that are similar to the genre you're in. I'm a nonfiction writer, so that's my area is nonfiction, spiritual books, Bible study books, spiritual self-help, healing. So those are the books that I check out that I look at. I'm checking out prices and topics and what's best selling and things like that. So look at that, look at the format, how things are formatted, look at the trim sizes, look at how just see what's trending, what's happening, what's going on. And you can look online, pay attention to bestseller lists. Yeah, those are things. Look at book reviews, all that good stuff. So just kind of stay on top of what's happening and what's going on. And then how do you hear about books? Are you in author circles? Are you in chat rooms? Do you see where things are advertised? Are there local book clubs in your area that maybe you're a part of? And then drive. I think the other thing is drive. Do you wake up every morning with a sense of purpose? To be honest, I had to find my purpose because you would be surprised at the people that are in your life who will kind of put a nail in a coffin, and I'm just gonna say it exactly the way it is. Um, People don't want you to succeed in the place that's gonna like bring you joy and happiness. And there's stress everywhere, but when you can relieve some stresses and you're happy and you're feeling some happiness on the inside, that's where you want to be. So your work, because we're all put here to work. God made us all. We're to work. If you don't work, you don't eat, and all that good stuff. So there's some drive there. And so you can find some joy. And then balance your day with communication, research, planning, and execution. So you have to do it. And so if you're gonna have that passion, have that joy, and have that drive for what you're doing, make sure there's some action to it. So you're gonna have all these goals. Make sure they're just more than a list. Make sure they're executable and that you're putting some action to it and that you're like, oh, I did that. Oh, it's done. So you want to make sure you do that. And so for me, part of that is making this video, doing my lives, doing my social media posts so I can grow the following and increase my author. I don't want to call it a fan base, but my audience. My audience. I want to increase my audience. I want to increase the people that find my message helpful to them. So I might not be everybody's cup of tea, and I'm okay with that because everybody's not my cup of tea. So, and there are a lot of voices out here, and you find one that fits and resonates with you, and you go with it. So, and as you are looking at tips for your successful book, cover design. Consider your book design on the interior and the cover. And then make sure you find, of course, a good book distributor and print on demand services like Ingram Spark. And then be realistic about your goals and how you're going to be able to achieve them. Key, purchase your own ISBN numbers. Do not buy the ISBN number from Amazon or Ingram or any of the other, however you choose to self-publish your books, because you want your name as the publisher. You want to own your ISBN. So provide your own ISBN. And so there's more. You can go to Bowker, Bowker. And I'll have, if you go to my website, sistercirclewriters.com resources, there should be a link there, but you want to purchase your own ISBN. You want to be the owner of it. So you want to make sure you do that. And then, of course, just looking out for overly expensive services. So there's a lot of self-publishing scams out there that will publish your book and never do a thing with it. And then there are a lot that offer turnkey services, but you just want to make sure that, yes, and I know some folks will talk about, well, it's called self-publishing, you can do it yourself, but not everybody wants to do it themselves. And so some people will pay to just have people do it. All they want to do is write it and be done with it. And so they're going to pay somebody to edit it, which is great because that brings the quality of what's out on the shelves from self-published authors up because there's different levels of editing. So you have your developmental editing that's been done, and so then after that's all been finessed, when you get ready to have it published, you're going to go through line editing, the copy edit. Those are like the last ones, like right before you are ready to get that book formatted, that interior formatting, and get it ready to go. And so that's the last line of editing that you're going to do. Before you get everything ready to go, you're going to get somebody out there you're going to hire someone that that's going to help you with your cover design. And so I did that for the last two books. I went to Fiverr and I did it within my budget, and it was reasonable, and it was it was good enough for me. And so it worked, and I got good feedback on it from the audience that I had at the time. And so it worked, and I went with it, and it's working. And so that's what happens with that. But it looks much more professional than that first book I did out in the early 2000s. But I was working with what they had on Amazon with those cover designs that they had you use. So yeah, but that first book was really just it was just a brain dump. It was a brain dump. It was edited just fine, but I really was kind of shy about what I wanted to say. The last one, I wasn't shy about what I wanted to say. So I said what I wanted to say. Yeah. So marketing your book. No, I am not a major public figure. So you just really need to be realistic about how you're going to market your book. Just being realistic about it, and just social media advertising, publicity, and promoting your book and your strategy for your book and things like that. So, yeah. hmm Yeah. Yeah. And make friends with other authors and professionals. Join writing communities. I mean, you have to join more than one. And then if a writing community doesn't work for you, you don't stay in that community. You leave that community. You only stay in the communities that work for you. Yeah, that's how that works. You just stay in, yeah. But you want to kind of go in and learn some stuff, listen, find out what's going on. Because somebody knows something you don't know, and you might know something that somebody else doesn't know. So you kind of network. Ooh, network. Yeah, communicate, talk, share, learn. And then just consider making your book available in other formats. So I'm looking at doing my book in an audio book for visually impaired individuals. So that's what I'm thinking about that. I'm trying to work the budget out so there's a nice soothing voice on the other end. And yeah, and the production value is nice and all those good things. So not AI. I don't want an AI voice. I don't want one of those. So yeah. So just making sure that what we do helps to reduce the bias against self-publishers because the bias is still there because people are still calling it vanity. It's not vanity. There's nothing vanity about it. There's hard work going into these books that many of us are putting together. We are not just doing low content books. We are putting our hearts and our souls into these books that are talking about healing, self-care, some of these stories that I'm reading from the young adult authors who are writing these fantasy stories. Woo! Yeah, they're awesome. They're fantastic. The cover designs are fantastic. The amount of time that they spend on creating the characters and developing the other worlds, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. So it's making me want to write in a different genre, and I'm sticking my toe in very slowly, but yeah, I'm inspired. Young people are inspiring me. I'm learning something here. So yeah. All right, so the next thing I want to cover is publishing costs. So how much does it cost to self-publish? Well, the reason that many people self-publish is because it's a little bit, it just depends. It can be a little bit cheaper, I should say, on the less expensive side, depending on what your skill set is, and or it can be more expensive. So there are pre-publication costs, editing and design. You have to get your book edited. Even an editor needs editing. So my last two books, I should say last three books, I paid an editor. I paid someone to edit my books. So I edited as much as I could edit. And so I had to go beyond having a friend who edits, kind of just read it over and do that. I actually paid someone to edit the book. And so professional editing and design, I had someone again design the cover and do the layout. And so if you have the time to do it and the skill to do it, it's great. But I felt, especially for the interior layout and design, I just felt that my time would be better spent writing another book. And so I had somebody else do that part. And so I just sacrificed and paid somebody to do that. So those pre-costs, those pre-publication costs are up to how much you want to spend. And editing can be pretty expensive depending on the size of your book and the type of book you have. So just be aware of how much you're going to spend. It can be $500 on up. And then the cost of your ISBNs, there's a cost for that. So you can buy one ISBN or you can buy your ISBNs in bulk. I bought my ISBNs in bulk because I knew I was going to need more than one because you need an ISBN per type of book. So your paper, even if it's the same title, you need a different ISBN. So for Kwanzaa Illuminated, the ebook has a separate ISBN, and the paperback has a separate ISBN, and then the study guide has a separate ISBN. So for that one title, those three variations has three different ISBNs. And then when I do the audiobook, that'll be a fourth ISBN. Camera's messing with me. Four ISBN. Ha 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 ha. All right. So, and then you have so that's the publishing costs. And then for Ingram Spark, there is costs to upload to the site. So I'm going to tell you, the first time I signed up for Ingram Spark, I ran out of money because I paid for all that editing and design work. And then when it came time to put my files up, I was like, what? What? I because I didn't research far enough. I thought it was going to be like Amazon. Amazon doesn't charge you to upload your files. Ingram Spark charges you to upload your files. And so then so it takes one, and then the other thing is Ingram Spark approves your account. So then by the time I went back to upload my files, my account didn't work because I didn't do it within the time frame of, yeah, so there's a time frame there with Ingram Spark and them approving your account, and then when you upload your files and all that stuff. So you want to make sure you're aware of that, but that's a different video. So you just want to make sure you're aware of that. So there's publishing costs involved. Lulu.com does not charge you to upload your files either, but Ingram Spark does charge you to upload your files. And then if you have to, let's just say you find a typo in your interior file and you want to fix it and upload a different file, there's a fee to upload that file. So you want to make sure everything is perfect before you upload anything to Ingram Spark. Just gonna say that, just so you know. Okay, now post publication costs, marketing your book. It costs money to market your book, and then post publication costs, author copies. So you want to have the copies of your book to check how they're being printed. So you're going to have, so Lulu, before it'll even like put your book out for everybody to look at, you have to order an author copy to check everything. And then you'll say, okay, everything's good. And then you let them know everything was good. And then they'll make your book available for everybody. And yeah, so you have to check everything off. So you have to order that author copy to make sure everything is good. And and then maybe you'll order some author copies to have them available when you're out and about different places, shopping your book around, having copies in the car. Like, well, I can't speak for everybody, but like in the olden days, people sold mix tapes and CDs. Oh no, I'm dating myself. All right, here we go. Yeah. So yeah, so those might be some fees associated with the cost of your self-publishing your book, making sure you get your copy. So depending on how many copies you order for yourself as an author, that's going to be the cost. So maybe it costs you because Kwanzaa Illuminated, and I had pages in color. I had some colored color pages in my book, and the Amazon copies were like $3 and some cents. And yeah, so you order 100 copies times $3.69. There you go. That's your cost. And then costs associated with distribution. So do you have a website and you're fulfilling your orders yourself? Are you doing drop shipments through Amazon or your other websites? If you're using Lulu or any of the other ones? So yeah. So what's that? And then how much are you making? So usually the cost, I know just recently the percentage that authors earn from Amazon just went down. And I think what is it? 55%. It's usually anywhere from 45 to 55% is what you'll earn from your book, minus the cost of printing the drop shipped book. So yeah. But you can check that out, and it's all based on, again, how much it costs to print your book and the price you're selling your book for. So each site that you're selling your book on will have its specific costs that you can calculate how much you will make and how much you will spend. All right. The next thing I want to talk about is setting publishing goals. How do you set your publishing goals? So every author should have some publishing goals and goal setting. And we know about goal setting, right? Make it specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. Otherwise, it's just a list of stuff. Check it, check, or never check. But you want to make everything actionable, right? Executable, something that we can do. So you want to be successful. Goal setting should be something that's going to make you successful. Keep you focused, 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 focused. It shouldn't be something that's distracting. Don't spread yourself too thin. Don't be distracted. And you want to track your progress towards your end result. So, what is your end result? What are you trying to achieve? And what are the steps that are going to get you there? What is your end result? What are the steps that are going to get you there? That's how you're going to do that. You need a coach? I'm the coach, Dr. Annette. That's me. I'm the coach. Encourager of dreams. That's me, baby. That's me. All right. So make your goals measurable. How much time did you spend? What were you doing? What was the result of that time spent? Can we track your project progress? So for me, the end result was that I needed to have some posts on Instagram. That was the challenge my daughter gave me for my book, God's Word for Healing and Self-Care, Vision Edition. And I was like, okay. So I was like, what can I post? And I'm like, oh yeah, easy peasy. So I created some posts that came right out of the book and created them and scheduled them and posted them for 9 days. And I can measure that. And it was done. How much time it took and how many days that I had posts. And so that was a measurable goal with an outcome. So I could do that. I could track that. And then it was time sensitive because I needed to have them and I need to keep doing that because I need to show up consistently if I'm going to build my audience, right? I need to do that and make things, time sensitive. And it was realistic. I wasn't trying to get 100 posts in a week or anything like that. It was reasonable. I created 9. I used Canva. I'm good at that. And it took me about 2 hours because I was playing around with the colors and things like that. And I created posts for 9 days in 2 hours. So I thought that was reasonable and realistic. And I wrote that down. It was part of my plan, followed up on it, and yeah, gave me a sense. It was good. It was good. So, and it's something I can repeat to get that done. All right. So then this is really important for you to do. Your author rights and copyright. Extremely important, okay? So you need to protect your book. Your rights as an author, protecting your book from copyright infringement. So your first step in protecting your work is understanding your actual rights. So technically, your book is considered copywritten or copyrighted when you make it public. That means if you put it on any website that a general audience can get to, then your copyright has begun and it lasts the life of the author plus 70 years. But you still want to register your work with the Copyright Office because that's legal protection in case you need to file a lawsuit. So you do that. let's see, it costs about $35 to do that, to copyright your work, and register that and copyright your work. So you want to do that with your work. And you can also go to the U.S. Copyright Office to register your work and find out more information about that. You can also get an attorney, and that's where some more money is gonna cost to do that. If you could get an attorney to do it, but you can use, most people do it on their own. They just go to the U.S. Copyright Office and do it and fill it out right online. And then the next thing you want to do is, again, those ISBN numbers. We talked about that. You can buy them in bulk, and you need to have one for each of your items, your paperback book, your hardback book, your ebook, your audio book, the study guide that goes with it, the journal that goes with it. Everything needs to have its own ISBN. So you already know that. And then your publishing process overview, everything needs to be edited. There's a design, production, distribution and sales, marketing and publicity. And then if you wanted to start your own author business, that's a whole nother idea. Some folks are into that. I've been into that for a long time. That's another story I might tell you. Just keep an eye out for the book called The Book Lady of North Minneapolis. I'll just say that used to be my nickname back in the day. You'll have to ask my kids about that one. But yeah, so the new imprint is Sister Circle Writers Press. It used to be back in the day, Faith to Faith books. So the kids can probably tell you about that a little bit. But yeah, there is a process to starting a business, and being able to be online makes it a lot easier than it was having a brick and mortar store and going to book shows and conventions and things like that. I remember those days. I had muscles back then. So yeah. And then traits of a successful independent author and independent publisher is passion, being passionate, having an open mind, being willing and able to build relationships with others, being a problem solver, ready to get through any kind of roadblocks, and just being determined. So I just want to thank you all for listening and being here. And I'm going to stop sharing and turn off the recording and take any question.